Hey guys, we're back at it with the E46 supercharger, the rear mount radiator situation. As you can see, we've removed a lot of stuff under the hood, and we've been working on the routing of the lines, which is probably the most difficult car I've ever done for that. So I'll walk you guys through it. We want to be doing is using this AN20 line, which is what I prefer for the engine compartment because it's flexible and it doesn't emit a lot of heat. So even if the engine is like 90 degrees, you can still grab the hose, which is nice. And if the engine has to come out or something, you can simply detach these things and reroute them, or like point them upwards so it doesn't lose all the coolant. So that's kind of easy. I kind of like that. So we're going to be working with this. We'll probably make a new one for that and go in that direction. And same over here. We're going to be going from here. We'll probably make some kind of fill point over here. And where we're going to be ending up with those lines is right over here, which is where I've cut a couple of holes. Right here, we've pulled the oil filter canister. I've just stuck this tube in here. We've drilled through over here, and we're going to be ending up under the car right over there, and you don't have to worry about the wheel because the wheel is never going to be touching it. Over there we made some space, but we're going to be bracing that, of course, right over there. Like there under here is where we'll make a brace. We'll box this whole section up, of course, but there's going to be a little brace under there just to be sure if you hit something or whatever, just to add a little structure. On the inside, we had to have the scary job of cutting. As you can see, it's not very easy because it has the FIA style seat mounts. And over here, that's basically where our tube is going to be coming out, right over there. So what I always do with these types of deals is get two tubes and space them the way we want to. We just have these little blocks that we use to space everything out for that. And that's what we're going to be working with. So these things basically need to go under the car. As you can see, that's like basically that's where they're going to be going. We need to make a solution for the seat frame because it's going to hit over there. Good thing that the driver of this car is not very tall, so we can go up a little bit with that. And we're going to be coming out of the floor somewhere right over there. And I've made a little cardboard box over there to mock up how we're going to go to the rear. Over here, there's already a little bit of space from the factory, so to speak, in this section. That's where one could basically go over here already all the way to the front, but the second one's never going to fit. So we're going to be boxing this section. We're going to keep the seat frame in there, of course, and box that all the way to the front so these tubes can run through the floor. It's always a little bit of a scary sight. Here we've cut out on the floor, and that's where the tubing is going to be coming out of. And that's where you can see the exhaust is over there, so we're probably going to be looking to get tubing right over there, go in there and mount the electrical water pump up there. Yes, it's going to be a nice cavity, so it's not going to be the lowest point of the car, and we need to be extending right over here. Like one trick I always have is like put a ruler next to the car and then paint it white so you'll have a nice stripe. This is that section that we've cut out. It's a little bit hard to see maybe. We're probably going to be bracing from here to there to get some strength, and that's where the tubing enters the car. So yeah, not the easiest solution, but yeah, it's basically the only option that we have. There's a lot of people that run stuff through the interior of cars. I'm not really crazy about that. And people say like, yeah, but you can box it up. It's the same as a floor in between, but the difference is that it won't lose any heat in the process. And if you run them under the floor, it will basically operate as a cooler as well. So the tubes will be able to get rid of their heat and it will make a huge difference. It's a radiator that came with the car that we're going to be using. It's a HGK radiator, it's a CNR, but it's HGK modified it. I think over here they ran an oil cooler in there at one point. It's blocked off right now. We're not going to be using that, but this is like a client provided part. And it also has this really nice Kevlar carbon fiber shroud that's going to go on there, and we're going to be using all that and vent out of the trunk. It's kind of a nice piece, really cool. And here we need to block up the trunk. Guys that have seen the way I do that on the E36 the same way. So we make this whole template, which is going to go basically over there, and we're going to be boxing off that whole section. Can't do it right now because that little cardboard section's over there, and we're going to be using our famous piece over here that I always use on the E36 to close this off and make like a shorter parcel shelf situation. As you can see, like that's basically where the firewall is going to be. We're going to be coming through with that piece over there. So a lot of fabrication going on, of course, with these deals. It's very, very difficult here because you can see that over there I need to work with the confines of the roll car of the roll cage reinforcement for the rear axle, and right over there is another tube. And there's this huge box for the fuel system. So I need to work around all of that. There's basically only one window of opportunity to come through here. And the exhaust is right over there. So it's very, very tight. Like I said, one of the most difficult cars I've ever done this conversion on. Yeah, so that's basically the only option. Like you might say, hey, let's roll on the passenger side, but the original style tank is still under here, which completely obscures the floor, so there's no way I can pass under that. And with these types of deals, you need to go from the floor and go over the rear axle somewhere, because the radiator is going to be behind the rear axle. Like on my sedan car, obviously the radiator sits over here in front of the axle, which is a lot easier with all the tubing. Because with any car, it doesn't matter if it's an E46 or S chassis or E90 or whatever, it's very difficult to pass through the rear axle with all these lines, especially if it's a V8, because you're going to have a little more elaborate exhaust than like a turbo car, which may have like one exhaust. So that's just a little bit more difficult to do. It's always a little bit of a puzzle. And like I said, you're really going to have a lot of trouble moving those two coolant lines across the rear axle. So before the rear axle starts, so before this point, you really want to be inside the cabin with the lines. Otherwise, there's no way that you're going to be making that inside there. Yeah, there's another little view. Like it just sucks that the floors aren't really straight on these cars. Like there's all kinds of little things in there. We have to basically make it straight, which is not the easiest job to cut it. And there you can see it's really tempting to use that manhole over there. On the other hand, it's also going to be a little bit difficult because it's a little round piece, and I kind of want it to be detachable because I want to put the electrical return pump in there, so we could like access the electrical water pump through that gate. You can see it doesn't completely line up, so there's going to be a little S-bend has to be made in the lines. But like I said, the electrical water pump is going to be underneath that manhole, so we're gonna do a little bit of fab work over there just to connect the return and the feed line for the radiator to the electrical pump. So the electrical pump is going to be in the return, and the feed line is obviously going to go to the radiator. One really nice thing is that this radiator is dual pass, so it basically forces the fluid to go through the radiator twice, which is nice because it means that the lines are both on the same side. Otherwise you'll have to come across like from here to here or something. When on most cars there's one radiator, like the hot side is going to be over here and the cold side is going to be over there. They've done a lot of changing on this radiator, but HGK runs these in a lot of cars, so we're just going to roll with that. Just going to be a little vent port over here, and this is where the radiator is going to be filled. So we're going to be running like another fill canister over there, like a cheap solution for the fill canisters. So these VW ones, I'm not crazy about their looks, but it's kind of nice that they're kind of simple. Just one line goes under there, and this fills the car in the back. It's also really nice if you have a rear mount radiator to have like a point where you can fill the motor, whether that's in the hose or whatever. This kind of fills the motor from that side. Here's like the line that came from the radiator to vent that. We're still going to keep this thing here because I want to have a little bit more expansion over there, because these motors are aluminum, so they emit a lot of heat. It's kind of nice if they still have some expansion going on. We are also clocking this thing. It's like a turbo wastegate, and it's controlled by this solenoid. There's also a standard dump valve, which is controlled on vacuum. So if you let go of the throttle, this thing opens up and it basically dumps all the boost out. Of course, you don't want to run a huge amount of PSI into that motor, because I'm pretty sure it's just a stock motor. So we're going to use this solenoid. So the dump valve is going to be for off throttle. So the supercharger can get rid of the pressure that is built up when you let go of the throttle, which is also going to help with not losing the belts. And the wastegate is used to control the boost. We're not 100% sure how they've done that. It's controlled by a FEM CCU. So yeah, we're going to be finding all that out when the car goes on the dyno. We need to relocate it over here. As you can see, the trajectory of this of the hot side is 100% in the way, so we need to relocate this canister. We need to relocate where that solenoid sits, and then move these hoses out there. It's kind of a big hose, it's not super easy, so I'm probably thinking of making one a little bit shorter and going like on this level, and the other one we can keep that a little bigger and run it like on that level. Obviously you're always compromising something, so it's not going to be this close, it's going to be a little bit lower. But there is just no way, if you have a V8 car with a rear mount radiator, it's almost impossible to keep it super clean. You're always gonna sacrifice the accessibility of components. It's just the way it is. There's no way around that. We've touched on that already when I first spoke of this car. Super cool, but the packaging is very, very, very difficult. It's kind of nice, like the supercharger is pretty compact for the amount of power it can give. And I'm really happy how much this is freed up. If it was my car, I would probably move the intercooler back a little bit further, but let's just first finish all this stuff up and see what kind of mapping we can get out of the car. It's not fantastically powerful, to be honest, because these things usually make a huge amount of torque. I don't think I've ever seen any M60 Turbo that made less than 700 Newton meter, and this one is on 644. It should be a little bit more in my book, so it's 536 horsepower, 644 pound-feet, or Newton meter, sorry, I wish it was pound-feet. And this is on ethanol, so you can run way more ignition advancement on ethanol, a little bit more boost before such a detonate. So we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see how much power we can get from it on pump fuel. The pump fuel we have in this country is pretty good, so we'll usually get pretty good numbers from that. And I think this curve can improve a lot. So keep this in mind, what this curve is like, and when we have the whole car done. It could also mean that this car is a little bit of heat soaked, despite that it's on ethanol, because there's no oil cooler and there's no space between the radiator and the intercooler. So that could definitely mean that there's a lot of heat on the intake happening. And that could, despite that it's running on ethanol, it could also mean, of course, that you're losing a little bit of performance over there. So let's hope that it's going to be a little bit better. Obviously, we're going to be venting the hood or running without the hood. Like that's like super important that the hot air can also go out. It's pretty good that it's tilted. So we'll just see what happens. Let's first tackle this job. Like I said, it's one of the most difficult rear mount radiator deals that I've ever done, because over there I also need to fit the oil filter canister, which we need to find a solution for, because it's very, very cramped over there and there's no way for us to get these lines off. Basically, to get these two lines off, the motor needs to come out, which is of course not ideal. I don't even think I can reach it when I just drop the subframe. So there's another, like an 8 series canister that I'm trying to get, which has oil cooler provisions on it. So we kind of probably have to remake this bracket a little bit. And yeah, you can see how tight it is here with the brake line. Like normally I think it's a little bit too tight, but the temperature is not going to affect the braking at all. And we're using a really thick wall aluminum tubing for a couple of reasons. One of them, of course, is heat insulation. The other one is that it's way easier to weld and to bend. So as you can see on my M50 Turbo car. This is where we went with the AN lines. There's another one like chase base filler neck, and that's where the 90-degree will go, and then they're both dropping down over here. I made a little support for it right over there. We still have to powder coat all that stuff, and that's where it goes downstairs. Let me play around with the light a little bit so you guys can see. So that's where it connects to the tubes. There's another one underneath there, which is a little bit more difficult to see. So that's where they're going. Little clamp over there. So yeah, so that's where you can see both of those coolant lines coming up. And here's another overflow. Thank God we never needed that. It's really nice how cool this car stays on the dyno. Really happy with that. So that's like the basic setup. So you always want to choose one side, like over here, because it's a turbo car. It has the exhaust coming out of the hood, so you don't really have to worry about running them into the transmission tunnel. And of course, it's really funny, like that there's so much room being taken up by that BMW V8 on the other car, that there's absolutely no way to run the tubing through there. And there on my sedan car, you can see over there we have the box where the radiator sits in. So the lines on that car are coming through the floor, basically right over there in that area. That's where they're coming through, and the radiator sits over here. So that's very, very easy packaging. And it simply vents out of the trunk over here. That's the overflow. And that's where the radiators are sitting, in a little like the overflow tank over there. I made that easily detachable, just in case you want to bleed it or something, or whatever. Let's say if it didn't bleed very well, then we could like pull it off. This is the little mount for that, and over there you can see inside that box, as you can see, that's where the line is coming through. And that's basically how that sits in my own car. And there's a stainless steel plate that we made that goes over the tank. We still need to attach that stuff. It's just there right now to check the fitment. So that's going to be really easy to run that through. Run the air through there. And it basically really connects nicely. Right over there, you can see it's going to be a really easy path for the air to come through the trunk. So that's like how I would ideally do it. Of course, it's a little bit difficult now to do it on the V8 car. It's very, very difficult to do rear mount radiators and like those big changes on cars that have already been made. It just barely clears the bars over there. So that's how it's done on my own car. I know you guys like all these little bonus things. So this is like Cinderella, the car that I put in the wall, which is a pro car that I've had for many, many years. So we basically pushed everything back. This frame where the window sits was like sitting like 20 centimeters lower on that corner. So we've all put that back in shape, and we're using the exact same method like as you've seen maybe before in the video of how to measure and how to make a cutoff rear frame. This section is what we made. I made this a little bit higher because normally it sits like here when you just cut off. Still need to get rid of this. And that's basically if we ever want to run a quick change or something in that car. And it's very important to make this really flat so you can manufacture those pieces. And that's of course my other E36, like the Pro chassis that I'm building for myself. We're developing a lot of things like over here. Like this doesn't sit right, so this goes to will fit really nicely. Just slaying in there, hasn't been finalized yet, but we're making those two cavities over there so we can run the exhaust, because this car is going to be really, really low. I know everybody says that their cars are low, and here's another shot at how we fabricate those cut-off rear ends. So I basically cut it out over there, and we're gonna box up those sections like that and keep the center, like here you can see the line over there. So that's what we're going to keep open for the rear mount radiator. This car is not going to get its air ducted from the rear window. We're going to use a completely different solution, which I hope I can show you guys soon. And this has been cut out, like that section that you see over there. That's the maximum allowed cut out for Formula Drift and Drift Master. So that's the exact same rules in that regard. If you look at how low that subframe sits, that's really pretty low. I'm not sure if you guys can see in the photo, but like the toe of my boot almost doesn't go under. Like it's really super low. So it's going to be a really low car, really sick body kit. The reason why it's so low is because that body kit is really high. It sounds like kind of weird, but the cutouts for that body kit are very high, so that it will take the wheels when the car sits really low. So it's going to be a really sick car. And I had this body kit on a different chassis that I sold to my buddy Jeff, who's going to be building a car out of that. And the reason for that is that we wanted to do all these kinds of things. So we wanted to cut out the transmission tunnel and wanted to put these two sections in there, and some more provisions for the rear mount radiator, and develop some parts for that. And it's not super easy to do that with an already painted and caked chassis like the old E36. So sold that one to Jeff. I hope he's going to make something really cool out of that. And this is going to be like my non-plus ultra, like the nicest E36 that I'm basically able to build is going to be this car, of course, with the Chevrolet V8 and with rear mount radiator. So stay tuned for that. It's obviously on the back burner because it's very busy in the shop. But yeah, it's going to be really cool. And see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to take a look at our website as well, einzel.nl. We ship worldwide, of course, Wisefab, Feal suspension, our own brand Einzel, gearboxes, quick change differentials, axles, all kinds of things. A lot of fabrication components, of course, air jacks, subframes for quick change, you name it. Drop us an email and we'll hook you up.